Hi everybody and welcome back to the channel. In this video we are going to talk about a way to fix the tiling on the Megascan surfaces so you can apply it as your landscape material. The difference between what I'm doing on this video and what I did on my first video, this one right here on screen, is with this one we're going to have an auto tiling. In the previous video what I did is you tile things manually, so you tile the amount you want for what's on screen, which works really well when you have one standstill or when the character is in one specific area. But that doesn't work as well if the character is going to be moving far away or if you're doing a fly through or anything of the sort. So now what I have here is just a regular material out of the Megascans. I didn't even tile it like I tiled the one on my previous tutorial, but I'm gonna use one of the materials that I created here and you're gonna see the difference. Actually, I'm going to use this material right here, which is made up with the same textures as this one right here, just the one we're using. So let me throw it in here on the landscape. As you can see, the tiling went away. So it is tiling a little bit, but it does help a lot. So let me illustrate over here what I mean. So if I go out, check this out, you're gonna see that there's a ton of tiling here. But if I were to add this one, you're gonna see that now it actually looks like a landscape. And this is one very simple trick. It's actually very simple to use. This video is going to be a little bit longer than usual because I want to go and explain you the things that this node is using in order to achieve this. So if you want to tweak it and do your own thing with it, you'll be able to do so. So if I get closer, I actually have a little bit of displacement here, and you can see that I do have some little like splotches all around, and I'm gonna explain why that happens, but that is one of the things that's helping me tile this. So if I use something like a grass material like this one right here, it actually looks a lot better. This grass, this is a material that by itself, it does tile pretty well, to be honest. So if I throw in the original material, it does tile. It's just tile to all hell. And it's because the colors are so tight, you're just seeing that it's like you apply one single color to this whole thing. And actually you can see the tiling on these slopes. But if I apply the material that I made, it actually looks a lot better. So you can see there's a big difference between these two. So we're gonna go into how to make this materials, and the best thing is it looks great from far away, but if we get close, it still looks really good. And the reason for that is because we have a couple of nodes helping out with the camera. So it's telling the camera how to react to the scaling, and that is what we're going to do today. So let's just get right to it. All right, so one of the first things you need to do is make sure you start a project that contains the starter content, because we're going to be using some of the things that come with the starter content so we can use our Megascans with it. Now, what we're going to do is once you get your starter content, you go into the starter content folder. You're going to go into materials, and we have a bunch of materials. You can actually go in whatever material you want that has a surface. Of course, this glass is not going to work. Let's just go into this grass ground, and what we're going to do is we are going to be using all these nodes right here. So let me go into it to explain you what's happening. So this is the micro variations, and you have a specific texture coordinate here. So as you can see, it's not tiled so much, and when I mean tile, it's I'm talking about a difference from 1. So you see this is 0.75. It's actually pretty close to 1. So it's multiplying and by a 0.01 constant, and is applying this texture sample. This texture sample is kind of what's producing that variation in color that you see all around, and that is something to help out with the tiling. When you have a texture that tiles, anything that you have as a surface that can distract the eye from that tiling would help. So that's one of the things it's doing here. We're using with a linear interpolation node, and you have some values here, and that's going to be clamped into this lerp over here. Now if we keep going, we have our texture coordinate. You may be familiar if you've seen any of my other tutorials. If we click here, we have a very specific texture coordinate, which is 0.5. going into an albedo node. So this is your regular albedo, and this is actually going into multiplying it with a couple of things. So you have a base color tint and dead grass color. You can name it whatever else. This is what's here. You can always double click. You can always go here and change the name if you wanted to. But what I mean is these two colors are what's going to influence the different type of tint that this has over here, and we're going to talk about that later. Now, if we keep going, you're going to see that there is a lerp here, and we're using this part as an alpha. So what a linear interpolation is, it's a mix between A and B, and the alpha is what's telling the lerp how to mix it. So in this case, what's telling it how to mix it is all these values right here, including this texture that we have here. Now, if we keep going, we're going to see that we have a macro variation texture. So what this is just the same albedo. This is pretty much the same albedo that we have over here with a different texture coordinate. You see that this is 0.05, so that means that it's tiled really, really big. That's why you're seeing it so big over here compared to what we have over here. Over here we have a far distance color. This is the color that's going to be applied as much as you go back, and you can always change this color if you wanted to. And this is kind of like how much is going to be mixed. So in this case, we're using a constant instead of using a texture. We're also using a texture sample for the linear interpolation, so it works as an alpha, just the same as it did over here. Now, if we keep going down, and this is for the normals. The normals are not processed too much. What this means is we're getting the normals, and when you have distances far away, so fade to flat over distance, this means that when you're far away, the normals are not going to be projecting. So if I were to come very close, you can see that there's a little bit of a normal map. This particular texture doesn't have a big normal map, but if we go far away, you're gonna see that it turns into something really flat. And that is mostly for performance issues. So you can have this or you cannot have this if you wanted to. I'd rather leave it that way because it works. Now what we have here is the real deal. What we have here is what's telling the camera how to react. This is telling the camera when you are at this distance, you're going to display this amount of scaling. When you're far away, you're going to display this other type of scaling. And as you can see, this node is plugged into the alpha of this lerp, and it's also plugged into the alpha of the lerp from the albedo. In this case, this particular material doesn't have a roughness or ambient occlusion map. We're going to make one for our material, and we're also going to be adding displacement to it. All right, so that is it for a brief explanation on what nodes we are going to be using. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually, instead of copying and pasting, it's actually easier to, let me cancel that. It's actually easier to just right click and duplicate this node. And let me give it a name. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag it to my node tile materials, move here, and I have it over here. So I'm just going to throw the dirt one because I like the dirt one better. Now, what we're going to do is we are going to be looking for the textures that this material is using. In order for you to do that, just double click and click this little magnifying glass that you see right here. If you click that, it's going to browse directly into where the texture's at. Okay, so make sure you also have your tiling material open before you do that. So I'm just gonna make sure that's open first, and then we're gonna go into where those textures are at. All right, so now that we're here, we're going to be doing the easy thing first. We're just going to be substituting materials. We're not gonna do the other stuff that I've done to this. So let me just reduce this like that. And we're gonna go into our albedo first. So albedo, we have here another albedo. And all you have to do is click here and then just click on this arrow. This arrow means assign. That will change it instantly. As you can see, it changed here. We're going to do same here. Assign. And we'll change all of these later. I'm just going to show you how quick and easy this is. We're going to also change the normal map, of course. So it's this one right here. Click. And that's it for now. I'm like I said, I'm gonna leave it at that. We're also going to make some changes, but just to show you how this works, I'm gonna apply. I'm gonna save, minimize this, and we're gonna go to our node tile. We're gonna throw this in here. And see how fast that was. So as you can see, there's a little bit of green, and you can probably imagine where that green is coming from if you saw one of the nodes there. But if you can see, this is working really well, and that almost took no time to make. Now, if you want to see a difference, let me throw in the original material. Check out how this looks. And if I throw in what we just made, it's extremely different. Actually, the green color doesn't go bad, but let's fix that. So I'm gonna go in here, and we're going to change this color for something more suitable for a dirt material. So you can always double click here, and I'm gonna do a color pick. So click the eyedropper. I'm gonna pick the color from here, and I'm going to make it, this is a far distance color. I'm going to make it a little bit lighter than one we picked. Click OK, click apply. Wait for it to compile. And as you can see, that took away the big green that we had over there. Now there's a couple of things that we also need to change, and we need to change what's in here. This is actually influencing our color as well. But instead of trying to come here and then change it, go back, that's very annoying. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get out of here. I'm actually going to create an instance. Double click that instance, and as you can see, we already have these for us to play with. So this is why it's important to always use an instance instead of using the actual material. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna throw the instance in here. All right, now let's play with this, and let's give this a change. So I'm just gonna double click here, and we could color pick. Let's see, let's turn this around. Let's color pick from here and see how that looks. Make sure you're looking at this so you can see how this reacts. And I'm sorry, I color picked from here. So color pick over here. And we click OK. See how this changed. And as you can see, it's changing to something a little bit more suitable for our dirt material. But maybe that's a little bit too dark. So what we can do is we can make it lighter. Click OK, and you can see that we're getting there. So if we do this, I don't know why it always shows up off screen. So you can see this is much better. All right, I still like to have a little bit of a different color variation, because when we are far away, that really helps to make it look like an actual landscape. All right. And if we get close, well, we still see our normal map. Now, what happened to our displacement? Let's get our other maps in here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to open this, and I'm going to start bringing the other things that we need to get this going. So I'm going to double click our material here, and I'm also going to browse again so we can go back to that. Close my instance, we're not going to use it. Now what I want to do is I want to add the ambient occlusion. So what I'm going to do is, I don't want any specific process for the ambient occlusion. I'm going to do the same thing that we have here for the normal maps, and you can do the same thing for the roughness if you wanted to. So let's get the ambient occlusion in here. And we're going to actually plug in this texture's coordinate. I'm actually just repeating what the normal map has. I'm gonna press the letter M on my keyboard and I'm gonna click. So press and hold the letter M, that will give you the multiply node. And I'm gonna plug in the R of my AO and I'm gonna plug it here. If you're wondering why am I using the R, is because when you go here and double click the texture of the AO and I click on view, if I unchecked everything, you're gonna see that R actually keeps the ambient occlusion color. All right, so because it's just a grayscale material, it's better just to use one channel as opposed to use them all. All right, and also make sure your sRGB is unchecked for this in case it is checked, because sometimes it is if you're using something else in the Megascan. All right, now what we're gonna do is we're going to hold number 3 and click. And that gives us a 3 vector constant, which is the same thing as this one. What I'm gonna do is I'm going to put it all the way to white. I'm gonna plug it in here. And actually, this is the wrong node. It's not a multiply, it's a lerp. So I'm gonna hold the letter L and click. It's giving me a lerp. So I'm gonna plug one here, one here. And I'm gonna get out one link from here and plug it into the alpha. And that way it will react the same as everything else. All right, good. Let's actually put this into a comment. So create comment from selection. Let's just type AO. There you go, just so we know what's what. Now, the other thing that we need to bring over here is the displacement map, which we don't have yet. For that, in case you haven't seen any of my other tutorials, but I'm going to quickly show you how to get that. So go back to the material that we're using. And over here, I have my parent, and my parent is what has the displacement thingy. So I just browse where it is, double click it so we can open it and look at its parameters. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to Control Z for copy and Control V for paste here. It's going to paste wherever your cursor is. And the other thing we need to do is quickly get this node to accept tessellation. So we just scroll down. And where it says no tessellation, we say flat tessellation. Just leave it as it is. And now we can plug this one in. So we're going to plug in this multiply into world displacement and this lerp into multiplier. All right. And make sure you have the correct displacement map, because as you can see, for some reason, this is a roughness map. So you're supposed to go into here and let's look for our displacement map. So I'm just going to select displacement, click on this node and click the arrow. And there you go. We have our displacement loaded. And I'm not going to give the displacement this treatment because what we have here is already telling the camera to do the displacement at a certain position with the camera. So I'm just going to leave this alone. I'm going to apply. And it's going to compile for a little bit. Just give it a second to load everything. Now, right now we don't have any displacement because we haven't activated anything. So make sure you open your material instance. And as we have it right here, make sure you turn on all your displacement. And what we're going to give it, this is what I'm talking about. This is why we didn't have to give it any special treatment, because this is already telling the engine when we are near, you tessellate this amount. When we're far, you tessellate this amount. So for performance sake, I'm going to keep it as a low value. So let's say 35 and 20. As you can see, there was a little bit of a change over here. And you can place with the displacement height. If you want it a little bit more crazy, I'm just actually going to leave it at 2. I'm going to save that and I'm going to look at my new material. So as you can see, whoops, this camera is too fast. Sorry about that. As you can see, we have our material here with a little bit of displacement, and if we go back, that displacement goes away and we get these nice splotches around. And again, this looks this way because whenever you're making a landscape, you're not supposed to just leave it alone. We can use this along with my tutorial of painting landscapes, so creating a material for landscapes. I'm actually going to expand on that one in the future to make it a little bit easier to manage. But if you wanted to create a material that you can plug it into a landscape blend material, the link is going to be in the description below. If you want to look at that tutorial, you could paint here and you could get your own landscape. The purpose of this is so the tiling goes away, but you still need, as someone who's building a level, you still need to add assets. You still need to maybe do a little bit of a paint over here and there with the blend landscape material in order to get this to look right. All right, everybody, that's it for this video. I really hope this helped you out with the tiling issues that I know everyone's been having whenever they use the Megascans, and this way you'll have a tiling material that works with the camera. Please comment down below on which tutorials you'd like to see in the future. You know, I always respond to comments as often and as quickly as I can. Leave a like, share the video, that really helps the channel. And for those wondering where are the mixer tutorials, I'm still going to continue with the mixer tutorials. I just decided to do something every now and then a little bit different, so this channel is not 100% Quixel Mixer, because I like to use Unreal a lot too. So our next video is actually going to be a mixer tutorial video, so make sure you stay tuned for that as well. I'll see you in the next video.